Huh. That'll be interesting. Let's turn it on. Well, back here online. Let's do that. It's a Tuesday night, which is unusual, and I came down here with a purpose. Hey, Uzi Monkey, will the telly play Fallout? No, it won't play Fallout. Okay, my mic is real quiet. Let me switch my mic then. Thank you for telling me, because I can't. Now, is that better? Tell me if it's louder. I hope it's louder. Good. All right, and it looks like it's still in stereo, which is unusual too. So I'm very pleased about that. All right. So I have an agenda today, as usual. Besides just messing around on antique machinery, which is my usual agenda. But I've got a very specific piece of thing that I want to come to and print on this device, because I was up until like midnight yesterday trying to make it work, and I've taken lots of shortcuts because my learning curve is impaired late at night, but I think we'll make do. So let's see, where shall I start? I think I'm going to start the story, because this is really just storytelling. I'm going to start the story here with this paper from Catherine Nash and Richard Williams, and it is around 1970. And I knew nothing about this paper until I watched Shermin's talk at Strangely, and she was talking about her research of this scene and the art that they produced in this scene, and how it was done. And yeah, this is kind of typewriter art. There's actually some really good modern kind of concrete art with type, and obviously kind of letter forms are a wonderful kind of part of this. I'm sitting right now next to, I think, 4 or 5 letterpress machines, and so there's a lot of print around here. And so yeah, this back in like the late 60s and very early 70s was one of the explorations into computer-generated machinery to produce artworks. And some of it's really nice. I mean, this is really impressive, this spheroids. It's just overlapping ellipses, it's just circles. But it uses some kind of interesting techniques to do this. And they're techniques that don't really make a lot of sense in the post-teletype world. So, the post-teletype world being like after these things became like instead of using one of these to talk to a computer, that everybody moved on to green screens. And if you've got a green screen, then it doesn't really do overstrike and produce things like this at all. Sure did this talk at Strange Loop, which seems to be playing in the background, called Recreating Forgotten Programming Languages for Art, and she is Piratefish on Twitter, and the whole YouTube of this is online, and I thoroughly recommend watching it because in a half an hour she covers a lot of ground, and it's amazing to go back to the beginnings of like computer kind of existence and see how these things were used for really interesting creative things. So, okay, so the guts of her talk was actually about recreating the Art1 programming language. So this was a language. The thing that this paper described was basically a language to construct designs on paper, and to construct them using 2 layers of text, one layer overstriking another layer. So that's all kind of cool. Now let's switch into kind of modern implementation land, and let's see, can I show up a terminal? I have a terminal, yay! So Sure built this piece of code in JavaScript, like modern, and I don't know how to use JavaScript very well, so I decided I'd love to get this thing working on the teletype. That was my goal, and I played out some last night. I think I've managed it to some extent. But first, let's show kind of what this is. In the examples directory, there's a set of little JavaScript apps that call into this programming language that is based on Art1. And it's basically a JavaScript node recreation of Art1 with the basic functionality of it is to give you primitives, and I don't understand all of the primitives yet because I'm a slow learner. But let me let's see, how do I show you this one? This one here. This is my editor, and here's the exports from this kind of Art1 module. It's basically got functions that will draw lines, and functions that will draw rectangles, and ellipses, and quadrants, which I didn't play with enough to really understand. I think a quadrant basically lets you pick up one piece of the picture and flip it and reproduce it in another piece of the picture. And so I should have used that, and I've actually kind of bypassed it by doing things the long way. But anyway, triangles, and then it can print. And this print function here basically says, oh, okay, so I've got to talk about what these things do. So let's go back onto here. Now I have a feeling I'm moving too fast. We've got these kind of antique programming language for creating art, and it's really quite extraordinary. And it dates to 1969 or so. And it's all built about overlays. And Sure saw this paper and recreated it and re-implemented it basically. It was implemented on an IBM 360 with a 1403 line printer, and then driven by punch cards. So you would you would drive it with punch cards that contained essentially your program for how to draw, and including results like this. So these are pretty amazing results, actually. Anyway, so it talks about the various functions and the parameters to them. So like rectangle with an outline or solid, triangle, and then how big it is and whereabouts it is on the page, ellipse, and where's the center, and then like what's the position on the page, and so on. I don't think exponential is implemented. And I say quadrants is really important, but I didn't play with it enough because I got obsessed with results. So yeah, if you can if you can render triangles, you can render anything in 3D. This is really probably true. Yeah, because like, why not? You can shade anything with triangles, right? But it reminds me of somebody, I can't remember who it was. Somebody else on Twitter is doing amazing plotter Twitter stuff. Let me see if I can find it without like typing correctly. With triangles. And not only with triangles, but also with Wolfram's automata. And can I find it? Where's my web browser? Can I find this thing? I don't know. But the plotter Twitter hashtag has like ridiculously amazing explorations in art from, I mean, they're all just mind-blowingly amazing. There's one of Sherman's Inktober, so that's kind of cool. Yeah. And where's the triangle one that I here? Look at this. This is a cellular automation, a cellular automaton from the Wolfram kind of set, and it's kind of a two-color plot with triangles or something. It's like, what? It's mind-blowing. So anyway, I'm going to put a pause on plotter Twitter because anyway, triangles. Create a card, I do not know. I have not heard of create a card. So send me a link. It sounds like something very generic. So anyway, let's go back. Let's go back all the way here. So the thing that Scher implemented was a recreation of this art1 thing, and recreated it in a terminal in a modern way. So how do you do that? Right? When you're you don't have a line printer that can overstrike. I mean, I do, but she didn't. So when you don't have a line printer that can overstrike, what do? They had plotters in stores like Walmart with a touchscreen computer where you design a greeting card and you got to watch as the plotter made it for you. Are you serious? That sounds like a business. That's something I could get behind. So, yeah, fascinating. So what do you do if you can't do overstrike? Well, you can do some kinds of overstrike-like things, and that could actually be kind of interesting. And one of Scher's examples was this. Okay, what happens if you do this and then another one? Well, you get two of them together. That's great. But what happens if you do this and then one of these and then another one? And there's some magic somewhere in here where these things will literally combine themselves into a single glyph. And I can't make it happen in the shell, but anyway. Then you get these like compound, like you can get compound emojis that stick themselves together to make like whole family pictures and multiple people in the same image and stuff. And also combining diacritics with Unicode, so you can get like take a letter and then put an accent on top of it and put another mark on top of that, and you can overlay these things. Yeah. So overstrike in the modern world, in Scher's conception of it, which is quite brilliant, is to use Unicode and to plug Unicode things together, ending up with stuff like this, which is a whole set of dots and O's but with diacritics above them, and asterisks and so on with essentially Unicode accents overlaying them. So she has these two layers and she composites them by using Unicode, by having one letter over the other. But she's written an implementation of this language to overstrike with Unicode because she didn't have a printer. So I have a printer. So what did it take to actually take kind of that thing and actually go kind of overprint? Well, I'm going to show you. Let's first run this, I guess. I want to like run some stuff, go get a drink and pause and print and come back and read what Ubi Monkey's talking about in the chat. So if I do, you can see the result of some of this with ANSI escape colors and characters and overstrike accents. And there's one, and here's another one. And this may not look exactly the way that it was intended to look, because I've messed around with the code a little bit, but it's I don't think I broke anything too badly. As I say, I'm not a JavaScript-y kind of expert at all. But here's another example of this, like, characters and accents overstriking them. And it looked like a roguelike map, absolutely. So, yeah, now let's go back here. I'm going to print some emoji to show you the overstrike stuff. I mean, you've seen it before, but I like it anyway, so I'm just going to start with some emoji. And that gives me a chance to get some noise going on here. And so the emoji is really straightforward. It fetches an image of the emoji from wherever on the web they are with SVG, and then converts it into this kind of overstrike ASCII art style. And the overstrike basically says you can print a line of text and then hit carriage return. The carriage will return. It'll go all the way back, but you don't need to line feed. And then you can go print over it. And you can do that as many times as you like. This only does it twice. But even with just two, you get a really nice ability to have some interesting characters. So maybe the... this is taking a very long time. Maybe the internet is going on or something. Let's just sit and watch it print. They printed a UPC on the console you could take in. So that meant you didn't need to take it for your printing. And most of the time was designing a card with friends who had seen messages and watching them print with print prints and hide them around the store. And they had a template that said like roses are red, violets are blue. Then you gave text to the inside and you go, I hope you pay so you can have all, so I can have all your stuff. And okay, yeah. So right, here's the emoji chat. It's one line and then I'll go overstrike another line. not exactly artistic. I mean, it is in a way. It's quite nice. I'm very pleased with my emoji, but it took a lot of Python. So this stuff absolutely looks like a robot. The ripples one here. I mean, that's really quite pretty. And all the kind of anti-escape kind of color things. It's underused. That's all. Yeah, beautiful. So my shell, anyway, my emoji shell, that's all very well. But there's a couple things I want to look up. If I can find them. And I better go like Google in the background. This will do. Okay. What do we get? The shell. That looks like a real shell. And the thing that I'm pleased about with this is that it follows like the directionality of the gradient of the color as well as just the intensity. So it does a nice job, I hope, of like taking an image and making an ASCII kind of rendition with a little bit of overdrive. That's kind of cool. But going back to this stuff here, this is Scher's modern rendition of overstrike art, and this is an equivalent, a version of like overstrike print. But the Art 1 paper lets you do things like this. And then there was another artist who was working with these people, the Catherine Nash and co, called Frederick Hammersley, and he did some pictures on this IBM machine using these tools, using this Art 1 tool. And this one struck my liking when I first saw it as part of Scher's talk. And I'm going to zoom in a little because it's really kind of nice. It's called Jelly Centers, and you can pretty much see that it's overstrike with apostrophes and dots. And so if you have like the dashes along this, look at the top line here, there's apostrophes and dashes. And then if you look further across, there's apostrophes with periods underneath them, and you get this kind of O's with apostrophes and dots, and this is kind of nice. So this is the first one that struck my attention, even before I saw this paper. So I wanted to look at Hammersley's stuff and try to recreate it. And there's a whole series of these drawings. Jelly Centers is really amazing. There's another one that I thought was quite pretty. Anyway, there's a series of them. There's one with some... Oh, anyway, let's go back to the code. because that is where it's at. So yeah, I spent some of last night hacking around on Sure's code and implementing my versions of these Hammersley pictures using JavaScript. And I'm not really a JavaScript expert at all. I've done way more Python than anything else recently. But let me show you kind of what this looks like. Here's Jelly Centers. It says there's an ellipse, and array 1 is like the first layer, and then array 2 is the second layer. And then here's the background. So the background is dashes, but we're going to do a circle. JavaScript is a potato language. JavaScript, yeah, I used to do a lot of JavaScript years ago, and then I forgot it all. But I like Python. Yeah. So then we start off with dashes, and we put an ellipse of spaces over it. And then we do another ellipse of O's over that. And then we do some rectangles, and this, I should have used the quadrants thing, I just couldn't figure out how. You do some dots on the second layer in places where there's apostrophes as the background. And so yeah, so I want to try it. First of all, I'm going to try it in here, because I'll show you how I developed and tested this thing. In my terminal window, if I clear the screen a little, I can run this directly, right? So I can say node examples jelly centers, and it does actually overstrike. It prints one line, and then it prints a new line, and then it prints the second. So you only see the second one. And so we need a way because you can see how this code works. It literally says, let's take the first array and print with a carriage return, and then join all of the lines with a new line at the end of it. So how do I see this test? Well, the way I saw this test is with this wonderful thing called TTY-EMU, which is a teletype emulator. And now I have to go switch my window to find it. And it's a really nice. It's a teletype emulator. So it looks like this. And if you say, and it prints really slowly, so I can turn that off with this key. There is a really nice looking teletype emulator. So if I go into art1.js, I can run jellycenters.js, and and you can get this font, you can download this font. And so here is Jelly Centers, or like my re-implementation of it using Sure's framework. And it's a TK app. It's a Tickle TK app that with Python that simulates a teletype. So it does overstrike. So it's really wonderful. So now all I have to do is do this on the real machine. The real machine, I don't think, has Node. It's on a Raspberry Pi. I mean, it's connected to a Raspberry Pi. Everything that you just saw is running on my Mac. So this thing here is on my MacBook. So I need to go on to the Raspberry Pi. I could just pipe it to a file, but that's cheating. I want to have this be interactive, because I'm going to take the teletype on the road again in a couple of weeks down to New Jersey for reasons, and I want to have it connected to the Raspberry Pi. so that we can do all the toys, right? So I don't have like my MacBook running. Yeah, I'll switch this thing back here to this, back to my regular terminal window. Let's get a new tab in here. ASR33 at local, which is the Raspberry Pi, and I am running on PTS0, and the ASR33 is logged in, and so we can test this by TTY ACN0, and there we go. So that's fun. So now I need to install like the whole of Node and Yarn, and I don't know exactly how to do that. So let me just try the obvious thing and see what happens. And this may be completely the wrong thing, but I'm going to try it anyway. So we'll get Node somehow. Yeah, I don't want to do this on the teletype because it prints 500 lines of stuff. Exactly. So, what about Yarn? I don't even know what Yarn is. It's like it's a test manager thing. It's a thing. I'm going to install it anyway. This is kind of a disposable machine. It's a Raspberry Pi. So let's see. Node. Okay. I don't have NPM. Do I need NPM? I don't know. Okay. I do need something, which is some code, and the code is on the web, and it's up on GitHub here, and so let's go clone this thing. So this is my clone of Sure's, my fork of Sure's R1JS, with all my pending changes in it, and something like that. And there's a README, conveniently, and it says run examples. Yarn node. Is this going to work? No. Oh. I'm not in the right directory. Nope. I am in the right directory. What about node examples embroid.js? That didn't work. So I've not got node on this machine. It seems the Raspbian Node.js version is old, and NPM is a separate. I mean, I'm not from this like environment. So I probably need to undo my stuff approximately, and go Google the right way to do things. Before you install Yarn, you'll need to install it on your system. How to install Node.js and your NPM or Raspberry Pi. Oh, it says use the node source repository. Okay, well, I could use NVM, which is the node version manager. That seems like a good thing to do. And I can do it in user space. I don't need to be like a root to do that, as far as I can tell. So let me try it. It says it's going to clone the NVM repository, which is the node version manager. And let's live dangerously. Okay. Close and reopen your terminal, or run the following to use it now. Okay. I'm not using bash rc, I'm using .profile. But I guess we're in bash anyway. So, let's put those out of the way just in case. Alright. Let me go back in here and see what happened. Can I say NVM version? Yes. Okay. Now NVM install node. And it should just pick the latest version. That's better. Okay, version managers, yes. Now, okay, node-version. Now we have a recent-ish version of node. And I'm not going to install any others. And I think yarn came with node then. How? What? Let's see. Nope, that didn't work. So I got the wrong yarn. Okay, let's get rid of this stuff, clean up a little bit. And I still have a thing called yarn. I'm gonna go back to my Googling and see what is yarn actually. On Mac OS, I installed it with Homebrew. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't think I need yarn anyway. I mean, I do for running things the way that the README recommends, but I think the README just says you can run these things with yarn. I think I can just run them directly. I can! Yes! So it can run. Alright, let's try this on the actual machine. Because that's when things get interesting, right? So, I need to log out again. There's something weird in my logout script. Like, when I log out, there's something that needs a real terminal. And I don't know what it is. That's for debugging some other day. So, So shall I just run this? I'm going to run the jelly centers. I think I should just run it. I mean, to recap, this is using Scher's node-based recreation of Frederick Hammersley's 1969 computer art, built with the Art 1 package developed in Albuquerque and recreated by Scher Min, and then hacked around with me to actually go back to printing overstrike, and then re-implemented as these JavaScript examples using simple compositing, an ellipse and a rectangle and a series of rectangles and ellipses and a little bit of overstrike. And I'm going to press return and see if it works. Works. So you can see the ellipses coming in, and it's really just ellipses over a background, and then on the second layer it's dots and apostrophes, and that's really the whole thing. But the result is kind of magical and way more kind of subtle than you might expect. Now this is slightly different from the original, because in the original he had a line printer. Hey Russ, you missed the beginning, you caught the good bit. So in the original he had a line printer that was like 132 columns wide or something, and printed like a whole page in a second. But here you have to sit and wait it out. But the result, I think, is a faithful enough recreation with like modern code and vintage hardware, which is a really nice combination. So I'm going to just sit and let it run and enjoy the print. Meanwhile, I'm going to work on this thing. Actually, I'm going to do some final tidying up of my electronics here. Yeah, this is my second teletype, and it's in pieces. And so I'm just cleaning up the keyboard. The keyboard's actually in really nice condition. for a keyboard that sat in somebody's shed for 20 years and had mice living in it, it's in pretty good condition. Thus, as I plug in my Model 33 again today, in motion mode, with the previous spin continuously nothing print. Yeah, I hope you're watching the Curious Mark videos, because he's making huge progress, and he has that same kind of problem. And if it's that diagnostic that he did in the first one, where it was chattering in local mode, it should chatter in line mode because the line's open, but it shouldn't chatter in local mode because the line's closed and completely weak. And the distributor should, it shouldn't spin the clock, it should just sit there and hum. And his problem was the card, the line driver card was the issue. No, the original. Yes. There was a rangefinder thing, but yeah, there was also this card here is kind of fragile. The big resistor breaks out easily. So this is my power unit, my second teletype. I've cleaned it. I've cleaned most of the mouse droppings off of it. And I've kind of roughly assembled it back together. Discovering the strange thing with the keyboard, that some of the keys are kind of chalky and white, and some of them are dark, and it just rubs off. With steel wool, it cleans up. So that's all I'm doing, is like cleaning the keyboard for a bit. Yeah, this is really nice. After like rushing through my exploration of like 3 hours of hacking on this thing last night, it works. And I forget how long I got this to print for. Yeah, I don't know how many lines I have. Not too many more. Maybe another like 10 lines or something. A few. Like enough to put it in a frame. I think this is probably near the end of this. I could start a very slow wallpaper factory. Yes. Absolutely. This is art. I mean, these things are hanging in the famous museum. I don't know where they are right now. Like the original of this stuff. So anyway, I am going to add these to my Etsy store eventually, but I think this first set of prints from today, I've got to mail them to show because it's all kind of code behind it. But so yeah, there's one. Now there's a couple more, and in here in my examples directory, there's a good line, and there's tiddlywinks. A good line and tiddlywinks. So I think let's try them in the order I built them in, which is a good line next. Let's see if you like this one. Again, with this one, I didn't use quadrants, and quadrants is the right way to do this. So I should go back and like rewrite the implementation a little. Maybe I might just declare the tree. So this is a background of O's with some straight lines of spacing, and then a background of asterisks with some straight lines of O's, I think. No, a background of O's with asterisks with straight lines over them. Yeah, you'll see it as it evolves. It's kind of interesting. This is called a good line is hard to find, or a good line is hard to beat. A good line is hard to beat by Frederick Hammersley using the Art 1 program in 1969. those lines don't look completely straight, but they actually are. It's the paper that's curved. got to. The spaces sound a little more harsh than when it prints. I don't know, I think that the print is just a higher... Yeah, I think it's just an artifact of the microphone. Yeah, so this is nice, isn't it? It's not as wide as the original Amazon one, but it's really pretty. It's really pretty. So on the workbench, my keyboard is coming along nicely. It doesn't need any work. I mean, essentially, I fixed up one of the wires where the mouse had chewed it, but apart from that, it's been really good to do. I think I just need to take a couple photographs of the contacts and then be done with the keyboard. You don't need much of it at all. So, yeah. Jelly centers. And a good line is hard to beat. And then there's one more. So I'm going to do the one more. And I think, because I didn't look at this paper last night, I completely missed the great one that's staring me in the face, which is this. I wonder if we can just implement this right here. It doesn't look too complicated. It's O's and X's. And it'll give us a sense for how it feels to kind of program in the language. So yeah, maybe that's the one to actually try. I want to script this a little bit. So here, let's let it print. Let's let it print. Oh, it did print. Okay. Yeah, I want to script this a little bit so that instead of saying node examples / whatever, I can just have a little bash script that I just say part 1 and then the name. But this is good enough for now. And so the third example is called Tiddlywinks, and I don't know if you guys remember Tiddlywinks, but this looks like Tiddlywinks. hope it does, if it prints okay. So we're doing 2 layers. We're doing a layer of apostrophes, and then probably a layer of spaces. Oh no! Yeah, we've got some stuff. There we are. So the letters that we're overstriking here are a dash, hyphen, and a slash, and a J, and a G. And they make some nice, interesting patterns. So it's this. Yes, it's the print unit for my second colour code. Alright. Tiddlywinks. Tiddlywinks is coming out okay. Alright, what have we got? How's the fiddly ring? Yeah, those are fiddly rings. So there we are. A recreation of some of this computer art from 1969 on a 1970s teletype. And it's really quite lovely. I'll bring you up to speed on this in a second. There we are. Tiddlywinks. Alright, so I think that counts as a success. We have recreations of 3 of Hammersley's computer art prints. So yeah, let me bring you up to speed on this machinery here. Which is this second teletype. This is the print unit, and the battery is about to go on my camera, so I should be able to flip that around. Yeah, let's do that right now. Yay, better, we're back again. So yeah, this print unit I thought was going to be in really terrible condition because the electrical stuff was in really terrible condition. But when I look at it in the light from the underneath, it's perfect. It's clean. It's like it just needs a little bit of lubrication. So that is amazing. Now from the top, it's not quite such a beautiful story because it had a mouse living in it. And so some of it from the top has had mouse gunk all over it. But it's mostly cosmetic. It's eaten away at some of the springs that I have to get replaced. But for the rest, it just needs cleaning, and it doesn't get any better than that. It's a relatively late model teletype, and I should be able to clean it and get it back into service. So yeah. Well, how about doing some actual engineering development here and try to reproduce this thing in the Insure's recreation of Art1.js. I think I'm going to do that. What's it called? Spheroid. Spheroid 1969. So there's the target. That's what I'm trying to get to. And I'm going to do this as a background of spaces with a circle of O. Oh no. Oh yeah, with another circle of spaces over it to punch a hole. And then the whole same thing for x's, but shifted across. So let's do this by copying. Oh, how does this work? Let's do this by copying the one I already have. This is the Jelly Centers one that copied, and I don't need all of this stuff, but let's keep it for now. My background is spaces and spaces on the second layer, and this bit basically says let's draw blocks. I don't need any of that. There's no blocks on this thing. Instead, I have one ellipse and another one, and this is going to get junked. And the symbol for this ellipse is an O, and then the symbol for the ellipse over it is a space. So how big is the first ellipse? It is, I'm just going to switch around things here because this is getting clumsy. Let's, not that. Let's see, that. Yeah, so the size of this thing altogether, it says 9 by 12 inches, but I don't have a 12-inch screen. I only have like 72 characters. So let's make the whole thing 70 characters wide. And so then each ellipse is going to be like 60 characters wide. That's probably a good place to go. And the center of it should be how many rows and how many columns. I've got 36 is a halfway, but let's center it on 30-30 and make it, what did I say? 60 wide. And let's try 60 high, although that's probably too much. Let's make 25 high. Okay. And then, in my other window, let's switch back to this thing here, to my TTY emulator. Node examples spheroid.js, and I've got a ellipse, which is way too long, like ridiculously way too long. Rows 30, columns, oh that's the wrong way around, isn't it? Yeah, rows and columns, what's the difference? That's better. Actually that's pretty close, and I think it's too round, because the original again is less round than that. So let's change one of those parameters again. That looks, there you go, there's an ellipse. Okay, now I need to punch a hole in it. And so to punch a hole in it, I'm going to do another ellipse over it with a size of, let's say, if this is 30 by 15, then if this was 6, that would be 3. And that's probably a good place to start. Oh, exactly. Ooh. I think her original was squarer, so let's try that. And then the center of the ellipse is Well, the center of this one is 30-30, and this wants to be below there. So let's do 40. 35 by columns 30, but I want to move my columns along a little bit and have columns, got too many windows in here. 36. Oops. Let's try that. Let's try that. See if it looks realistic. We should have an ellipse and then an ellipse of spaces over it. Yes. There we are. So is that good enough as a representation of this thing, this original thing here? Is it good enough? It's close enough to start with, and I might tweak it as we get further along. But I think maybe I could make the circle one larger in each direction. And so the circle could be 5 by 7. And let's take a little run of that. You can imagine doing this with punch cards, how insanely hard that would actually be. Because you can experiment at the speed of like the modern computer. And if you were doing this with punch cards, you totally couldn't. I think that looks close. Close enough to where the original was. So then let's take that whole pair of ellipses and do some more. I'm going to take those and do one with X's and then another with spaces. But in terms of the columns, they are all shifted to the right by 4. So 34, 40. And oh, I did it wrong. Yeah. So the place where I did it wrong is I printed them all on the same layer. And you can see here array 1 is layer 1. But I have 2 arrays, and I can print on the second layer, and on my second layer they'll overprint. And there we are. We have some overstrike. Oh, it's way more subtle. So this is like a very hacky first implementation, right? But let's go look at the original again. The thing that we're trying to reproduce. And it's actually, the O's and X's are offset by more than that. They're offset by 8. And then the hole in the middle is offset only by 4. Which gives it a real kind of three-dimensionality that this doesn't quite have, because it's too like symmetrical. So my overlaid hole in the middle could also use being shifted to the right a little. I think it's not bad actually. I mean, given that it's a different resolution because the printer is not nearly as wide. So let's do 8 and 4 and see how that works. So shift this one by 8. Now if it's a radius 30, that is still going to fit on the page. Just. And there we are. There's that, and there's that. It's a spheroid and a recreated spheroid, just with those X's. And like I say, different resolution, because this is only 72 characters wide and this is 12 inches wide. So it's like 2/3 of the size. But actually I think it's close enough. The hole is in roughly the right place proportionally. It is a little to the left. It should move one to the right. Let's go move it and see. Yeah, is the hole too big? No, the hole's not too big. Okay, back to PyCharm. And why I'm using PyCharm to edit Node, completely inappropriate technology choice, but whatever. Row 36, column 37, column 41. Yeah, it's the only editor that I can that I know how to use. I'm sure there are tools for developing in JavaScript that are very mature and easy to use, and I don't know them. Okay, there we are. That's perfect. Exactly how I wanted it. I'm going to commit it. And then I'm going to print it. So we don't need this. There's a little bit of extra. Where's my thing? There we are. There's a bit of extra stuff here. I don't really need this. I'm not even using the width, but yeah, there we are. Remarkably kind of straightforward. I don't even need the rect import here. Oh, I do need height. I don't know what my height should be, but I probably broke it by forgetting what the height was. Yeah, it needs to be more than 40. Let's say 50. No, let's say 60. And I'll probably have a lot of spaces either side of this, but I'm okay with spaces. We might have to just sit and wait for the spaces to print, but that's okay. The height is like the canvas. It literally allocates an array for each of these two layers, and then declare what the layers are, and then it just goes prints them. But now, I guess we've got to check this thing in. So I'm not going to check it in from my retro terminal emulator. I'm going to check it in from an actual terminal window. There's my new example. And let's go back to the teletype. Yeah, I didn't trim the lines, so it is actually going to print spaces. It doesn't really need spaces. Sorry, it's just going to print them. So yeah, we could speed up the print, obviously, by trimming these things. So let's just let it run. And then we'll have 4 vintage prints. Meanwhile, I think I made a pull request for this onto Shir's repo, and now that I've added the spheroid, I think I have this pull request coming in, and we're ready to, I think, yeah, okay. I think it works. So, I think we've proved that it works by actually, like, printing. And then, this is the test. Do the tests pass? Well, looks good to me. Where do we get to this horrible machinery? This machinery is really nice. It's like this new teletype of mine is in quite good condition. And I'm going to clean it. I may like grease it some. But first I'm just going to get some of the guns off it. It's in really nice condition. It's okay. Considering that it's nice and not bad at all. Very, very, very pleased with the way it turned out. Yay! Ours are connected. quite art. Wow! How about that? Wow, how about that? And then compare with that. I think that is a success. Spheroid. Alright. Well, here we are. We have tiddlywinks, a line, and jelly sentence. Oh, and an emoji shell of my own. There we are. So that picture, that last one, is Spheroids by Catherine Nash, 1969, and I think it's a good one to end on. Yeah, let me update you on this typing unit that I've been looking at here. It's remarkably good. There was a mouse living in it, and so one particular area has real kind of pitted surface, and some of the springs have been eaten away just by like mouseness in the vicinity. The rest of it is, there's a bit of surface gunk. It's going to clean up really nice. So my approach to restoring it is I'm just going to clean it. I am literally just going to clean it, and then I'll lubricate it. And if there's anything obvious that's misaligned, then I'll realign it. But it's going to have to be pretty obvious. I'm just going to go around with a toothbrush and clean it out. And so maybe within a few weeks I'll have like a second working teletype, which would be kind of amazing. Considering that these things date to the early mid-70s, and there's not that many of them around and in working condition. So yeah, you can see tiddlywinks from a distance. Looks so nice. I mean, this is really nice. What do you use in place of the foam pad under the printing unit? Under the typing unit, there's a foam pad mostly to soak up oil, and somewhere here. There's my replacement foam pad, which is a die-cut piece of foam, and so it's one of the few things that I have like an original replacement. It's a recreation by Dave Sumi, and I got it from Wayne in Vermont. But I think it's his last one. So there's not many of them around. Before I used like a thicker, spongier thing, but this is fairly light. It's open cell foam, it's fairly light, and it just mostly soaks up the oil, and it soaks up a little bit of noise. But it's not really a vibration thing, it's more of an oil thing, from what I can tell. So, well, that was another successful adventure. I'm going to tear this off now. And I've got to roll it up and put it in the mail, because I mean, I'll actually, I'm not going to roll it up just yet. I'm going to take some photographs. I'll put these up on my Etsy store so that we can buy like actual prints. But also, I've just got to mail this to Cher, because it's her code that made all this thing possible. And so I'll send it a print. So anyway, that's enough of the evening. Super successful. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and that was so worthwhile. Catch you again soon. Cheerio.